Hello, and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name's Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert. Today's special guest has played unforgettable characters across multiple horror films. Remember that iconic ice skating scene in 1983's Curtains? That was her. How about the opening murder in 1981's Happy Birthday to Me? That was her too. She also happened to star in 1980's Funeral Home and 1982's Deadly Eyes. So the early 80s were quite a busy time for this budding scream queen. We are so excited to welcome to the podcast, Lesleh Donaldson.
Hi there, guys.
How are you? Thank you so much for being on our show.
Yes, welcome.
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
So,
I got the time right now.
Yeah. So, we read that you were born in Toronto and got your start in modeling before working on commercials. So had you always wanted to get into acting, or what got you interested in that line of work?
It was sort of a weird progression because I started out, like you said, modeling, and my mother used to model when she was younger. And so I saw pictures of her and I thought, I can do that. And so she took me to International Top Models, a modeling agency in Toronto, and I started taking classes there. And I just, had a natural, propensity for it, I guess. I took to it and I liked it. And so that just led to me getting print work. And then I got into the Sears catalog. And then from that, I started auditioning for commercials. And then I started doing commercials. And then that led to me getting a sort of legit agent, and then led to me getting auditions for like TV shows. And so my first television show television movie that I got was a movie called The Homecoming, which was directed by Gilles Carl. And it was an hour-long TV movie for a series called For the Record on CBC. And so then that just led to me auditioning for movies. And so it just kind of gradually sort of progressed on its own. Like it wasn't any kind of like thought out sort of process. It was just, I was just sort of like stumbling down the stairs basically, or stumbling up the stairs to actually, doing, eventually horror movies. So, and then theater as well. So.
And growing up, were horror films on your radar? Was there one particular horror film that had an impact on you?
Oh, yeah. So my Aunt Sheila, God rest her in peace, she used to take me to see all the Hammer horror movies with the, Christopher, those guys.
Yeah. Wait, I know who you're talking about.
Christopher.
I want to say Plummer, but that's not right.
Peter Cushing and Christopher. That's right.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee.
Got it. Right when you say Peter Cushing, it always goes with Christopher Lee. Yeah.
Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, they went together. Yeah. So I used to go see all those movies. And she used to take me to see all kinds of like Village of the Damned and, all these sort of weird kind of spooky, ghosty, and then vampire movies. And so she'd tell my mother that she was taking me to see Oliver again or The Sound of Music or something like that. So my mother wouldn't freak out. And so my aunt and I had this weird sort of relationship with horror movies because I remember she went to see The Exorcist in 1974 and she told me, and I was like, I was only 10, right? I want to go too. You can't go. It's restricted. It's for people who are 18 and over. So, so we had this sort of weird horror film relationship. And so it wasn't something that I thought about would ever happen. Like I would ever do a horror movie when I was starting to work as an actress. But I remember Funeral Home, the audition came for Funeral Home. And I was, my agent said, hey, there's a little spooky movie that they're interested in seeing you for. And I'm like, ooh, spooky movie. Okay.
You're like, is Peter Cushing in it?
Like, is Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee in it? No, that's a vampire movie. No, it's just this weird little sort of, little Red Riding Hood meets Psycho type story. And I read it and I liked it. I thought it was really good. And I went on audition, and I think I had worked with Bill Fruitt in a little short a couple of years prior, a movie called a little sort of after school special called Christmas Two-Step about a little ballet dancer. And I was like sort of an extra or an upgraded extra in it. And so he had worked with me then. And so he kind of had his sights set on me doing this because I just had the right look at the time, the girl next door kind of, teenage girl next door that was going off to help her grandmother.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting ahead of the game, I know. But anyway, that's how that all kind of, came into play. And then all of these horror movies were being done in Canada. So I wanted to do the comedies, but I was being offered the horror movies. So you take what you can get, right?
Well, I mean, because we have a bunch of questions about each of the horror movies, but
Sure.
before we even jump into Funeral Home, we saw that your feature film debut was as Michael Douglas's daughter in a film called Running. What was it like working with Michael Douglas at that time?
It was amazing. I mean, my mother had a massive crush on him from the streets of San Francisco. So she was like really excited that I was getting to work with him. And I was just kind of like, like I sort of felt like that kind of that relationship happened again with, what's her name from Interview with the Vampire with Brad Pitt. It was sort of like she got to kiss Brad Pitt, but she was like, Oh, like,
Kirsten
wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Kristen does. Meanwhile, we're all going, oh my God, it's Brad Pitt. So it was the same kind of thing. It was like, he got to hug you and you got to hug him. And I was like, yeah, so.
That's so funny.
But no, he was amazing. He was a lovely man. He was very, he was a producer as well. So he was very, very not aloof, but just preoccupied with the role and running the movie, kind of, so to speak. But I actually have a funny story to tell you about that because I got the part. I don't know if you've heard this before because I've told it a few times, but I got the part and then I didn't get the part. They decided I was too old looking to play his daughter because I think he was about 32 at the time and I was 13 or 14. And I was kind of fairly voluptuous early on. And so I looked like I probably was too old to play his daughter. So I remember feeling, I was like, I tried to take it in my stride and say, well, that's the business. That's what happens, right? I have to prepare myself for that happening. And so then I get a call. The director and the casting agent are interested. They want you. They want to try to push you for this role. And so she said, we've set up a meeting with Michael Douglas in the hotel for him to meet you. And I was like, okay, in person. I said, great, fine. And so I went to this meeting. Stephen Stern was there, the director, the casting agent, and Michael Douglas. And I brought my grandmother along. And my grandmother's this old Scottish, old country type person with all these like great wrinkles in her face, but very beautiful woman, but very, she just let herself be age naturally. And so I'm going into the room and I say, Gran, just wait. And they said, no, bring your grandmother in, bring her in. And so we all go in and I'm sitting there chatting with Stephen Stern and Michael Douglas is just like, look, he can't take his eyes off my grandmother. He's just looking at her face like this. And there was a bit of a lull in the conversation. And my
and he's like, will you play my daughter to the grandmother?
Yeah, exactly. We're like, yeah, no, she goes, what's he just staring at me like that for? Like this, Douglas. And he goes, I'm so sorry. He said, I've never, your face is so beautiful. And she goes, you mean with all my wrinkles like this? Right? I can't do a very good Scottish accent right now, but anyway. And he goes, no. He's like, it's beautiful. She says, your face. You see, you don't realize where I come from. Everything's like, everybody's face is like, done and redone and all this. And she's like, you're flirting with me, all this stuff. By the time I left the meeting, I had the parts. I was like, okay,
wow. Well,
you are coming to every audition with me from now on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
So take your grandma.
Your grandma got you that part. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's amazing. And
that was a fun.
You were then talking about, you mentioned your first horror film, which was the 1980 psychological slasher Funeral Home. Now, for listeners who don't know this film, Lesleh plays Heather, a young girl who's visiting her grandma for the summer to help her run it as an inn for tourists. But the catch is grandma's place used to be a funeral home and grandpa just happened to mysteriously disappear a few years ago. Now, you even mentioned in this interview, you kind of call it like Little Red Riding Hood meets Psycho. Can you tell our listeners why you describe it that way? And you can use spoilers, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers, but so it basically the Little Red Riding Hood theme is kind of because it's like Heather is going off to her grandmother's for the summer. So she's going off to help her grandmother run this funeral, this bed and breakfast, like you said, which used to be a funeral home. And so there's that element to it. And there's all these guests that come to the house and then they start disappearing one by one. But you have to figure out well, there's a big bad wolf somewhere in this that's knocking these people off, and you have to figure out who is that, right? And so there's, there's the element of the cat, which is, I'm afraid of cats, my character. And so this cat shows up in these weird scenes and, saves her or scares her. There's some different elements to this cat. And then there's the weird, farmhand that is, helping grandma with, odds and ends in the farmhouse. So there's all these sort of different characters and then different characters who show up at the B&B. And then there's this mystery surrounding, well, what happened to the grandfather? Where did he go? He kind of disappeared. He ran off with someone, or did he run off with someone? And there's a guest at the B&B that's, kind of connected to that in a weird way. So that's how I kind of liken it. As for the Psycho, you'd have to see the movie to see.
We have some questions that are spoiled. So I'll just say this, listeners, because we are going to ask her about the ending. So if you have not seen this film and you don't want it spoiled, please, push pause or sign off right now, because we do want to ask you about that, because it's such a cool ending scene. And I totally get what you mean about that. The Psycho part. Yeah, exactly. Because you have the climax of this film. And again, listeners, last spoiler alert, I'm warning, your showdown between you and Kay Hawtrey, who plays your grandma, as it's revealed that, big spoiler, she's been taking on your grandpa's personality to commit the murders ever since she killed him years ago. What was it like filming that big climactic scene with Kay? Because she's like running after you with an axe and basically destroying everything in the cellar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I felt bad for her because it was a real physical endurance test for her, because she, had to. There was like some crew people that stepped in with the heavier stuff. But the things that I were more concerned about were like things where my head was close to an axe coming through a section in the basement where it was underneath a plywood section, and they were going to put the axe through. And I was like, make sure it's over here and not right here.
And it's a real axe they're using? A real axe?
Oh. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And then glass splattering, which was sugar glass. But I was like, okay, make sure it is sugar glass. And I was like, just kind of nervous about that. But she had the more heavy duty part in that scene than that whole basement scene, because of her switching back and forth from being, grandma, where are you, dear? And all that stuff to being, it's like growly, kind of grumpy old man. So yeah. And then of course the reveal at the end that she has the same situation with her mental health with that Anthony Perkins had in Psycho, where she's taking on the personality of her husband.
Yeah. And we read that you mentioned
conversations.
Oh, yeah. We read that you mentioned in your interview, actually, with the Terror Trap, a site that Kay had some difficulties working with the funeral home director, William Friedkin. What happened between them? Yes. Did it affect you in this at all? Or?
No, because, it was such a weird sort of thing. Because I would get in the car with her sometimes going to the set, and she would be, on edge. And I felt like he was just kind of like, what from her part, he was kind of pushing her in ways she felt she could probably come to that conclusion on her own. Like, in the she didn't need to kind of be jolted or whatever was happening. I didn't really see it happening. So I'm not really 100% sure what was going on, but I knew she was having some kind of, sort of problems, and she was on edge around him. Wow. So I don't think they didn't outright fight, but there was tension.
Maybe she was a method actor and was just taking on all of that.
She was a method actress. She was. And I think she felt like she had her own sort of sense of how she was going to play the part, but then he was kind of, influencing her in other ways, I guess. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that there was some kind of an issue there. So, anyway.
But you both are great. I mean, you are so the epitome of girl next door. It's so funny that you say that, because it's like there couldn't be more just like girl next door, sweet, nice girl. And she I can't even imagine to have to play a part where you're also like a murderer and impersonating someone else. But I would think that's a great role. I think that's
totally. I want to play it now. I'm like going, hey, I could be the Doc Martin grandma. I'm older than her. I'm older than her now. She was like 49 when she played that role.
I mean, Leslie, it's
And
time for a remake. Why couldn't
it
they do
is.
how funny
Let's
would that
put it
be?
out there,
if
folks.
They did
Yeah.
a remake and you played the grandmother. I mean, that
Yeah.
stranger things have happened,
so
you know?
true. And can
Like
you
the
tell us,
punk rock grandma, right?
maybe you totally could do it. And
Yeah, I'd love it. Yeah.
can you tell us how you found out that Funeral Home was a cult favorite in Mexico?
Oh, yes. Well, that was Michael Ironside that brought that to my attention. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it was just Michael joshing me. He was just like, "Hey, I went down to Mexico and I saw your movie playing, and I went into the movie theater there, and there's lots of dudes in there, and and I looked around and half of them had their hands down their pants, whatever." And he was like, you could be a big hit down there, you should go to Mexico and do movies. And I'm like, what?
What kind of theater? Wait, what kind of theater was this playing at?
I have no idea.
That is so
I envision
funny.
Desperado, right? Like the town in Desperado where like all those guys from that bar are kind of in this movie
Now
theater.
playing Funeral Home.
I don't even want to try to think about if their hands were down their pants, what they were thinking about, because you were way underage and your grandmother is way over age, you would think.
Exactly. So maybe the hooker woman, I don't know, Peggy Mann's part with Phil Aiken, that could have been what, their hands were down their pants for that. But
yeah, what are you?
Because of you.
What are you fantasizing about in this movie? In any way, it's wrong and weird.
Yeah. It is wrong, totally. But anyway, that's
hilarious. Well, moving on, the following year, you were in another slasher that's become one of our favorites, 1981's Happy Birthday to Me. And just for listeners, no, Tim is wearing a Happy Birthday to Me shirt. We love this film. You play Bernadette, who just happens to be the opening kill and the first of the Crawford top 10 to be murdered. So how did you get involved with this film?
It's really interesting. Again, I didn't really have to do much auditioning for it. I think they just sort of went by who was working the most in Canada at the time. And so it was all sort of Lenore, myself, Lisa, the Jack and Matt just came off of Meatballs, and, and then Tracy Bregman was, a big star in the soap operas. And then, of course, Melissa Sue Anderson. So it was sort of a thing where I just went in and met with J. Lee Thompson, and he was like, yeah. When, so it wasn't like a big process. I mean, and I just got it, so.
Did you have to read for any of the other roles?
No, I didn't. I didn't. No, I just went in for Bernadette. I was like specifically for Bernadette, and that was that.
How did you feel about being the first one killed off?
I was kind of bummed at the time because I really wanted to spend more time with the other kids. Like I really enjoyed being around them, and I would have to do a lot of photo shoots with them and stuff. So I would be on the set when they were shooting like the motorcycle scene where he's doing the dirt biking, and I was there just to get to do a photo op with them. But I was there watching them do the scene, and I was like, damn, I wish I was in that scene, with them. So so it was bummed that way,
But you know what? The opening scene has become such an iconic trope in horror now. Like even, I mean, I think it really became popular after Scream with the Drew Barrymore scene. But when you look back at this movie, what I loved about your scene is that your character puts up a really good fight. Like you first think she's getting strangled in the car, but then she jumps up and escapes. The thing that sucks is she just doesn't run far enough away. She stays.
I know, it's like, why are you running around the other cars? Get the hell out of there. Period. Go back to the school. Go wherever.
It's so funny because at first you're like, yes, she got away, and then she stays in the parking lot, and unfortunately, spoiler alert, she gets her throat slashed. What was it like filming your character's murder? Because I read some rumors that it may have been more graphic, but got toned down for the R rating.
Yeah, there a lot of those kills did, because Lisa will tell a story about how she gets an axe through the head, and they had to cut that because it would have made an X rating, and so. I mean, nowadays, look what they do. I mean, back then it was like, yeah, sure. Like you see that stuff happening now. So, but back then it was, they had to kind of tone things down. And yeah, I mean, there were scenes of me lying on the ground and the blood coming out of my neck, and, they shot all that, but they cut it for the actual, I mean, I'm sure there's a director's cut somewhere that maybe shows it. I'm not sure. But the thing that's cool.
I think it's so effective. When it happens, it's just like a sound. It's almost like you're getting punched. It's like, it's so effective.
It also is a really good makeup job. I was going to ask you how long that took, because here's the thing. We've seen a million horror movies. Obviously, we've seen a ton of throat slashings, which sounds really obscure,
so
but some of them do not look real. And yours, even though it's very quick, looked very real. Did it take a long time to get into makeup? Yeah, of course. Good.
Yeah, because it was one of those things where they give you a prosthetic. I'm giving away secrets, makeup secrets, prosthetic neck, and then they have a tube coming up under your costume, up somehow, behind the hair so that when it has to all be timed right? Because if you fuck up, I gotta go shower, clean up, and go back into the process again. And so we did get it kind of in one take. So thankfully, but it's literally like.
Is it true you walked around Montreal with your throat slit?
Yes.
How did that happen? Because I think that's awesome. Richard
Rebiere and I we were doing the table, sitting around the table scene at the end. We're in makeup, and once you get into makeup, you're in makeup. You're in makeup for the day, and so we're having lunch, and we have some time to kill. And Richard goes, "Let's go for a walk," and I'm like, "What, like this?" And he's like, "Yeah, like this." And so we go out. We're not far from St. Catherine Street, which is like the main drag in Montreal. And so we're kind of walking up, and there's this kid riding his bike down the street. And he's like, swerves on his bike and almost falls off it just with seeing us. And we're just laughing and giggling. And it's like totally too far, before Halloween time. So it's not like we were trying to, do a Halloween costume. So people were and cars were like swerving on the road, and people were like laughing or, going, what?
I was just thinking, like, thank God you didn't pretend like you were like suffering, because then I'm sure people would really believe it.
Now I'm kicking myself, because we should have both been going, help us.
Oh my God, help. Like,
there's worst, right? We should, now if it were today, we probably would have. So, we would have been more, on the ball with that. But
today you would have been ignored. Today you would have been ignored. People would have been like, been there.
Yeah, people would be like,
that.
Stop.
Exactly, so if listeners don't know, again, and Lesleh, we're kind of known for spoiling things in podcasts, and we figure since these movies are like 40-something years old, if you haven't seen it, you should.
It's so good.
If you haven't seen it, where have you been?
Yeah, where have you been? Exactly. So if listeners don't know, the original killer in this film was supposed to be Melissa Sue Anderson's character, Virginia, but during production, the script was rewritten so that, spoiler alert, Tracy Bregman's character, Anne, became the killer. What I wanted to know from you is, when did you find out about this switch? Like, had you already filmed your death scene thinking that Melissa Sue's character had killed you?
I don't even think I knew who the killer was when I filmed my death scene. I think it was all kind of like, could be her, could be somebody else. I mean, it was just sort of ambiguous because they were still working on it.
So who had the knife? Who killed you on that day?
Oh, I think it was just a crew member.
Wait,
I remember some dude dressed up.
You had the script, you knew your part, and you're like, but I have no idea who actually murdered me.
It was sort of, kind of towards Melissa Sue's character doing it. But still, it was sort of, when we finally got to shooting it, it was kind of like, well, we're not sure.
Wow. So what did you find out?
Watching the movie as a viewer, the whole movie is a big whodunit. So, and then knowing now that that they went back to rewrite it, it's so...
I feel like you can kind of see, because the mask... when she pulls off the mask, it's such a like flimsy mask, but it looks so lifelike. And you're like, how did she impersonate her? But
how did she do that? I know.
When did you find out that they decided Anne was the killer?
It was around the time we were doing the table scene. When we were doing the ending, we knew it was like, Trace, what? Like, it was just like, okay, whatever.
Did you get to watch it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was there, kind of. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't. So if I wasn't in the shot, I wouldn't have been at the table. It would have been just the camera and Tracy and Melissa doing their thing. Mm-hmm. But if I was in the shot and they were there. So yeah. So I remember it was it was Tracy pulling Melissa's head up at the table and putting her hair back like this. So you see it's Melissa, and yet it's Melissa standing there. Right.
I know.
And so, but it would be shot from here down. Like, and then when she pulled her head back like this, and they would kind of interact playing the different part. If you didn't see Melissa's face sitting down at the table, it would be Melissa Sue Anderson standing up. So how they did, clever. I mean, back in the day, I guess it was clever to kind of do that double face thing with Melissa being Melissa and Melissa, and then of course it's Tracy.
we were lucky enough to have Tracy on the podcast, and we asked her about kind of how when she found out, and she said something about how like there was a scene where the director saw her give just a look, and like he just suddenly thought, okay, she should be the killer.
Yeah, it was. I heard that too. Yeah, I heard that too, where she's just sort of like she has that sort of like kind of gritted cheese look in one scene, and it was like, oh, hello, now we got our killer.
Yeah.
And there's a scene later on where Virginia and Ann find your head at Alfred's place. How much was that you versus like
a fake head?
Headcast, yeah, like a headcast, yeah.
Greg Dunning had on his dining room table every Halloween. It's like, why didn't you give it to me? It's my head.
It was it.
I know I should have gotten it. So it was in the dark. So when they pull the cloth off my head, that's me. I'm sitting under a table with my head and there's, Jay Lee throwing blood at me all the time, like more blood, more blood, more blood. So it would be around the plate. And so that was me. And then once the light goes on, when Alfred comes in and he turns the light on, it's the fake head. And of course, when he pulls the eye out and all of that. So,
but it wasn't your eye.
Wait, it wasn't your eye?
It wasn't my eye. My eye can't come out.
You gotta go you should be going all the way for these roles, Lesleh.
I know. I should be more of a method actress. God damn it.
Wait, and you said that somebody else took the headcast at the end. You didn't get your own headcast?
Yes, the Dunnings had it, I think. Greg Dunning's dad, John Dunning, had it, I guess, and gave it to Greg. Said, "Oh yeah, I used to bring out your head every Halloween and put candy around it." And I'm like, how dare you keep my damn head? I thought it was in some vault in Hollywood somewhere, in some like studio or something like that. I didn't know where it was, but I was always like curious. I should have my damn head. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. And you mentioned, that final iconic scene, everyone who knows this movie where all the dead bodies are sitting around the table. And that's when the killer reveal is. When in the process, when was that scene actually filmed? And how long did you guys have to sit there pretending to be dead?
Yeah, that was towards the end of filming. That was like in late September of 1980. And it was 5 days of shooting. So it was 5 days kind of going around and 5 days because it was quite a lengthy process. And, it was like back then with the big cameras and everything, you shoot this way, then you shoot that way, then you shoot, so you're getting all different angles and you're getting angles even that you may not use. So it was about 4 or 5 days.
Wait, does that mean it took longer to film that scene than your opening scene?
My opening scene was, I think, 2 nights.
Oh, wow.
Might have been 2 nights. Yeah.
You must have been exhausted because your feet are going up on the roof of the car. Yeah. And I was watching it and I was like, gosh, this would not be easy to film.
No, and they had a stunt double for me for that. I'm like, why do you need a stunt double? You're just pulling me over the back of the car. I mean, I can do that. Why do you need a stunt double to pull me over the back of the car? So it was just bizarre. He said, well, we all have stunt doubles for stuff like that. I'm like, you're pulling me over the back of the car. I can do it.
That's funny.
And
was there some sort of red carpet premiere or a cast and crew screening? What did you think of yourself being on the big screen?
If there was, I was never invited.
Oh.
I don't even know if there was a big cast and crew screening. I just remember driving by on Yonge Street at the theater. I think it was at Dundas and Yonge, and it was playing there. And it was a rainy night. I remember driving by and hardly anybody was there, but it wasn't the opening. It was like a weekend. And I was just like,
wait, so when did you first see it? When did you first see it?
I don't think I saw it in a theater. I think I saw it like a copy, like a VHS copy that was
my gosh,
given to me. Yeah, and I just kind of saw it that way. But if there was a big screening, I wasn't invited.
Oh no, I don't remember what Tracy said because I think we asked her. We'll have to re-listen to that interview about if there was a premiere or screening, but I don't think
there might have been in Hollywood or something. There might have been. I mean, I would imagine that there would have been with Tracy and Melissa and people like that.
What did you think of this poster, which I'm wearing on my shirt?
Describe it. It's the guy.
I don't know who that guy.
Kebab.
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, we read that the studio just was like, oh, okay. Here's the guy that's not even in the movie, and we're gonna put a kebab in his face. But I mean, it's so iconic because it is, graphic and violent.
And then there's another one that it looks like it's me holding a birthday cake.
Yeah,
that one. That one where there's a girl that's in the and I have it over here, and I can show it to you.
In your house? So you have it framed? There's cries of the oh my God, it does look like you. She's showing us a vintage kind of happy birthday to me poster where it looks like it's like a close-up of her.
Yeah, with the devil eyes, right? Like why would they put an image? It kind of looks like it could be me and Tracy melded together.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
Kind of. And so I'm like, why would they do that? I mean,
after multiple viewings, I was like, I guess Tracy and Melissa's suit do kind of look like, but then you kind of look, I mean, like you're all
but there was sort of the
girls,
same film familiar look to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm interested to read Armando's book about how
yes, I know Armando.
Together. Do you know him? Yes, he's great. Yeah,
I see him in a lot of horror movie screenings, and I actually think I saw him at Happy Birthday to Me.
A screening of
yeah. No, I'm interested to see how because I've kind of helped him piece sort of things together in terms of like, Bernadette's background and Tracy. Because if you hear the names that the mother rattles off, it's Bernadette and it's the French guy Etienne, Jack's character Alfred, and Greg. And I think Matt's character, Steve.
Oh, is that when the mom is a little tipsy and she's screaming at the gate?
And she's reading the names. The six of us. And then there's Rudy, Maggie, and then Greg's girlfriend, Amelia. So they're kind of brought in after. So it's like Anne and Bernadette are sort of the female leaders of the group, kind of like they're the ones
Crawford
that are
top 10.
Well, that must be why you're the first kill. It's like you have to start off with one of the big members, one of the most popular members of the group.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the following year, you were in a very different type of horror film, 1982's Deadly Eyes, about gigantic rats who start killing people after eating contaminated grains. Now, we weren't able to find this movie to watch it, but we'd love to know what that experience was like for you.
Well, I just saw it about 2 years ago again. This Christopher, my names are just like flying out of my head here. I can't.
No, you're doing great.
Christopher Alexander. Anyway, Chris Alexander. Yes. He used to do Horrorama. He had a copy of it and he showed it at his Horrorama festival here. And I was like surprised. I was like pleasantly surprised that it held up. It was one of those movies where it kind of like a two-parter. So it had like the young people, and then it had the actual rats coming and invading, and then it had the scientist and the teacher, kind of figuring out what's going on. And so it was fun to do. It was bizarre to actually see the dogs in outfit in the suits.
I was going to say, we read that the giant rats were played by dachshunds in rat suits. What was it like working with a bunch of wiener dogs dressed as rats?
I know. Well, I'm not a fan of wiener dogs to begin with, because I find them to be very persnickety. Like they huff and puff at you. They kind of go, because I looked after one once, and the dog would come into the room kind of going, just huff at me. So I'm not a big fan of wiener dogs, but it was bizarre to see, I only saw them once, and it was in the movie theater scene where they were kind of moving them through the movie theater down by the stage. And they did it with like raw meat. So because the dogs couldn't see where they were in the rat suits, but they would smell the meat. And that's how they kind of just sort of maneuvered themselves over in the direction that they wanted them to go. And so it was just bizarre to see it. But then they had the mechanical rats that you actually see, biting into the people and chomping on their necks and stuff like that. But my character, I think, lived in that, to be honest with you, because I just went through a plate glass window.
Oh,
so that does not kill people.
No, definitely
not. Don't really know what happens.
Not like, well, when Deadly Eyes 2 comes out,
There you go. Who brings the rats back? It's Martha.
Was that a stunt woman also that went through the glass?
There was a stunt woman. Now there was a stunt woman that went through the plate glass window, because I cut, that's a cutoff for me. Yeah. I'm not going to be thrown through a plate glass window.
I don't blame you, because plate glass can hurt.
You're like thrown through a glass window or like pulled over a car seat.
Over a car.
But you didn't, I take it they didn't ask for a stunt woman in Funeral Home, though, which maybe that could have been easier for you because you wouldn't have to have been so close to an axe.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I was 15 and I was like eager to do everything, like, whatever, all my stunts and all.
That's so amazing to me. Like a 15-year-old being so close to an axe. Like today that we're so much precautionary.
You have to be precise.
Yes.
I don't even think they would use a real axe. They'd probably have enough look-alike axes. Yeah,
well, it was a dull. It was obviously dull, but still, if it didn't make its mark, it would have made an impact.
in your head. Yeah.
Even fake knives that we used in our little short, I still thought they could do some damage.
Yeah, even fake knives would be scary.
There's some props that really, can you hear about guys, with the blank bullets doing goofy stuff like that, like Eric Hexum back in the 80s when he, and then he shot himself with a blank.
Yeah, do not.
And Brandon Lee and The Crow, that's how he died. It's awful. Yeah. Well, so that takes us to 1983's Curtains, in which you play ice skater Christy Burns and one of the girls who's competing for a very coveted film role at the director's house. Yes. Unfortunately, the girls are all getting picked off one by one by someone wearing an old hag mask. So what was the audition process like for Christy, and was being able to ice skate a requirement?
Well, can you skate? Yes. To be honest with you, I don't remember a lengthy audition process for that. I think it was just like, because I was kind of in the mill of horror movie making in Toronto at that time. It was like, well, is Lesleh free? Let's ask her. I mean, I was just kind of like, I knew Peter Simpson, and I don't remember. I think I went in and met with him. Like back then you met with the act. Like today you have to do a self-tape. If it gets seen, you're lucky. Yeah. Because everybody sends in a self-tape. Back then you actually went in and met the director on the first audition. You went in and you met the director and you met the people involved, and they got to know whether they liked you or not. Right then and there. They could see whether you were able to work with each other, and they had, the rapport was there. So then they asked you back to read or screen test or whatever. But nowadays, you don't get anywhere near those people unless they want to see you because they liked your audition.
That's such a bummer, because it establishes a relationship, and then you're like, oh, I want to work with that person again. Right. And we read that you were a fan of Lynn Griffin. Yes. We were so lucky to have on the podcast. What was it like working with her?
Well, I was an offer because she was sort of like, and I still consider her kind of like the Meryl Streep of Canada. She was doing all this theater work, and I'd seen her in The Lark, where she plays Joan of Arc, and she was just like, she blew the stage apart. She was amazing. And so to get to work with her, I was kind of intimidated because she was this actress who's been doing all this stuff like theater,
Joan of Arc,
and Joan of Arc, and all of this. Yeah, exactly. So, but she was really down to earth. She was funny, and she was, kind of like her character. She was just funny and really, low key and
kind of like her character, the murderer.
Yeah, the character. Yeah, kind of like her. She was a murderer. She's a murdering type, that Lynn.
No, but she's so sweet. We had her on the podcast too.
Material. She wrote her own material.
The comedy material that she did. Yeah, we.
Oh, she's she wrote all that herself.
Yeah,
and she came up with it. So she's very versatile. Amazingly versatile. Yeah.
Moving on to what I think is the most memorable scene in this film, your murder sequence after ice skating in the pond. It's something that is like, it stays with you. You remember it. You remember that terrifying mask. So, but I know you've talked about this a lot, but can you tell us, so what happened the day that you were supposed to do your big routine on the ice?
Oh, yes.
You had been training to do that whole ice skating routine, right?
Yes, I was training I had a nice routine down, and I was doing my own dance, and I was like, had it all down pat. And Ann Ditchburn was helping me with the choreography, and I had a couple of trainers, and I felt really good about it. But I was doing it in an arena, smooth Zamboni ice in an arena. So I get out to the pond, and it's, ponds are bumpy, and there's, if you even watch the double, you see she doesn't do much. She doesn't do elaborate stuff. She just kind of does a little bit of a flip and a twirl. And so she doesn't do a lot, because the first thing I do is I get out onto the ice. I'm skating on. I hit a bump and I go face forward down into the ice and smack my face on the ice. And I'm right behind Peter Simpson and Jerry Arbide, who was like the producer and the line producer. And they both turn around and look at me on the ground. And Jerry goes, "Didn't we pay for her training?" Like, they have some training. And Peter was like, "Yeah." And I stood up and I went, "Yeah, in an arena."
And you bruised your chin,
and
right?
I bruised my chin, and you can actually see it in the close up in the scene where, you can do a close up of me looking to see the hag coming, and you can see the little cut there. So
did they put makeup on it, or how did they?
Yeah, they just kind of did a little base on it like this and cover up, but you can still see it, right? Like
I still think you have a beautiful face.
I hate to ask this, but were they filming when you fell? Like, do they have that on film?
No, they weren't. I was just going to flourish out onto the ice over to this where the scene was going to take place.
Oh, because that would have made a great blooper reel, right?
I was going to show my shit to Peter and Jerry, and I was just going to go out and do this thing, and I hit a bump and boom, right behind them, and they both turn like this, looking in, and he's looking in, and
was the whole crew on the ice?
They were over by where I was going to film, where where the boom box was and the doll. They were all over there getting the lighting ready and everything, and they all stopped to look at the stupid actress and kid. What? How are we going to shoot this scene? Like, how are we going to shoot this? She doesn't know what she's doing.
Wait, what did you train? Was it like, were you able to do jumps and stuff?
No. I could do twirls.
Twirls, got it.
And I could skate backwards, and I could the jumps. No, that's why they had a double.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to jump. Although, when I was a kid, I wanted to be able to do that stuff. I fantasized about doing that stuff. I used to jump and twirl in my living room as if I was a skater. So it's like,
I feel so bad that happened, because it's like you're training. It's your big moment.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And Lynn told us about that too when she was talking. She was like, "Did you hear about what happened to Lesleh Donaldson?" We're like, "We've read, But you did it was embarrassing. You did get to, you had to run away from the killer through ice and snow, and they're wearing that terrifying mask. What was that whole part like? Like, was it strenuous? Was it scary? Because it looks really terrifying.
It was strenuous. I mean, it's hard running through the snow with skates on. It's like, you're just like clunking through it, but you have to be scared, right? Because there's some weirdo coming after you with a scythe and a mask. And it was my double that played that part. So the girl that did the actual skating from a distance, my skating scenes, she played the hag. And so, although I wonder if it was her at the tree, it might have been a crew guy, because they want to make them look big and ominous, right? So they get a big guy to do it.
It's so funny because, again, it's like you get so far, you're so close to getting to survival, and that it always happens. You play these great characters who get so close to getting away.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I know, it's terrible. So, but yeah, it was again, daunting. There's the scythe coming at me. I'm like, I hope you're not really going to use the scythe on my neck, But yeah, I mean, so but you do it. Your adrenaline is going, so you're already in the, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, but you're just in the moment, so you're doing it.
And we read that there was also a scene where you're with what's it called? A skating coach, and it was deleted. Yeah. And was he like, he was rejecting you on the ice or something, or what was that scene about?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was a scene where they were trying to I don't know what they were doing. It was like this shoot went on forever. It was like they wanted to bring me back and trying to have me with Peter. Peter McNichol played the character. It wasn't so much that he was a coach; he was like a teacher.
Oh, okay.
And I guess they wanted to set up that, I don't know why, but they wanted to set up that Christy had, round heels. I guess she had a history of doing this kind of stuff with her mentors or her teachers and that. So it justified why she slept with John Vernon.
Oh, so they filmed the scene and then they just decided to cut it. I guess.
And then they just thought, wait a minute, no, that doesn't mean anything. That's like really not pertinent to this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But they shot it anyway. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, because what were your thoughts at the time about the filmmakers having your character sleep with the director in an effort to get a role? And do you look back at that scene any differently today, in today's mindset and climate?
But the Me Too movement. Yeah. I mean, it just like, I first of all, it was in the script and I did as I was told. And I have a lot of people saying, why didn't they have any nudity? And I'm like, I was 17. They would be arrested.
Oh, God. And there's nudity in the hot tub. Like, how much nudity do they need? Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was nudity when she's, touching their actresses touching the breast and stuff. Right. So, but that's what the business was like back then. Thankfully, I didn't have any experiences with casting couches, but I know a lot of people who did, and a lot of people who've had people try to do funny stuff with them. And thankfully, I never had that happen to me, thankfully, knock on wood. But it was a sad sort of commentary of the time.
It's funny because they put it in this movie, and like you said, like looking back, especially in today's climate, you're like, oh God, that's not so far fetched, you know?
It's not so far fetched, exactly. And it's and of all the characters to do it, it's the innocent one, right? Like the supposed innocent one that gets caught up in it. But she's the one talking about it all the time.
So yeah.
She's
and
the
then
one
she
that brings
gets
it up,
killed.
like sex. She's at the dinner table. Sex, would you just, and so it's on her mind.
I guess I've seen Curtains so many times. I guess I just realized right now that you were only 17.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, they never,
I was 16 when I started filming it.
Oh my God, because they never, I know they always all the girls talk about you being the youngest. I don't know if they say in the movie that you're saying you were as Lesleh were 17.
Yeah, because I remember there is a line in the movie where Linda Thorson goes, "What is she doing here? She's just a baby." She says that. She goes, "Why is she in contention for this part? She's just a baby."
I just thought that meant like 20.
25.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
still
I guess
a baby, but I mean,
yeah,
that is a baby.
That is a baby to me. I'm 60, so that's a baby.
Yeah, what's she doing here?
Yeah, what's she doing here? I'm 60. I'm experienced. You know what I mean? Like she shouldn't be going in for this part. But yeah, so I mean, I guess I don't know if I was playing older, but I was just playing me. I guess I was just
and
my age.
Curtains became kind of infamous for having a pretty troubled production. Having been shelved for over a year and then going through various rewrites and reshoots. In fact, if listeners haven't seen it, the end credits are even divided into people who worked on Act 1 and Act 2, which is so funny. But what do you, as one of the cast members, remember about the troubles that were going on behind the scenes, or were you not kind of privy to what was going on?
Well, we knew there was something going on, because I remember there was one day where we were all sitting in the lobby of Magnus Studios, and I was sitting beside Lynn, and then there was Anne and Sandy, I think, and there was discussions happening on the set between, Richard and Peter. And I just remember turning to Lynn going, "You know what? Don't worry about it. Let's just take the money and run. Nobody's ever going to see this."
Cut to today.
Today, we're interviewing about it. 41
what? You saw
later.
that movie?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Did you think there was a chance it was just never going to see the light of day?
Yeah, I totally thought it was. I said, it's probably never going to get released. Nobody's ever going to see it. It's just, let's just do it. Let's have fun working with each other. This is, the young chick telling the seasoned actress not to worry about it, right? And she just laughed at me and went, "Oh, whatever." Like, you know what I mean? And so, but, I knew that Richard was not happy because he had an idea of doing the film like a giallo movie, right? Like he wanted to do an artistic, sort of European style, giallo Argento type movie. And Peter had just done Prom Night and he knew it worked. And he was like, slap him, dash him, kill him, slice him up, dash him up, throw him into the, you know what I mean? The meat grinder. Let's just do that because it works. And I just can tell you that it works. And so that's what they're, I guess they felt like Richard was spending too much money on this artistic stuff, like these shots through the, the hallways and stuff like that. And I guess he didn't like it. He wanted just, let's get to the kill. Okay. Like that's sort of, I think, what was going on.
I find it so interesting that you were in two films where there were rewrites about who the killer was going to be. And the killers were both women. Like,
especially back then.
Yeah. Like, I've seen so many films and your films, we love your films.
Funeral Home. The killer was a woman.
Funeral Home was and I love that. But I'm just thinking for back then, that was kind of, like at a minimum that there were female killers in these slasher type movies. You know what I want to see, Lesleh? And I think I may have told Lindis, but I'm not sure. I want to see a remake of Curtains today, but it's all guys competing for a part and a female director who's at the power, and you or Lynn should play that role.
Yes. Or we could be the producer and the director.
Yes. Because
we could be Richard and Peter.
I feel like so many horror movies have victimized women for so long. Let's make it a bunch of guys competing for a role.
Dudes. Yeah. For sure.
I was just thinking, like, why hasn't someone done that yet? It's been almost 40 years. Like, I just think it'd be a cool kind of role reversal.
I think so too.
Oh wait, but if anybody steals that idea, come to Happy Horror Time. We have
to chat with you. We're going to cut in on this.
So Lesleh, if you get an offer for this, please tell us.
For sure.
Well, so we want to play just a little game with you right now where we'll ask you some rapid fire questions and you simply need to answer with the name of the 80s horror movie you did that answers the question best. Don't worry, it's not trivia or anything.
Oh, okay.
It's just like your opinion on it. And you just answer with either Funeral Home, Happy Birthday to Me, Deadly Eyes, or Curtains. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Which of these films have you seen the most throughout your life?
Happy Birthday to Me.
Oh, this is going to be controversial. Which do you think is the best overall horror film of the four?
Funeral Home.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which had the most drama on set while filming?
Curtains.
Yeah, I was thinking that was going to be the answer. Which, if any, had the most behind the scenes romances?
Oh, Happy Birthday to Me.
I was going to say that.
the Crawford top 10.
The Crawford top 10. There was a little probably romances there.
Oh, yeah. A lot of drama.
Which do you think had the scariest villain or villains?
Curtains.
Oh, not Deadly Eyes with the wiener dogs?
Well, yeah. I was thinking Deadly Eyes, Curtains, but yeah, it's a toss-up between the two.
Got it.
Yeah.
Which of these films has the most cast members you're still in touch with today?
Happy Birthday to Me.
Oh, okay.
Which do you get asked about most by fans?
The skating scene, Curtains.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, I actually have one more question about that.
Sure.
So you're skating away from the hag mask, and then you jump up onto the land, and you're in your skates. So from filming the ice skating scene to filming the scene right before you get killed with the Sith, what was there a gap in filming, or did you have to go back to when you were on land? Was there a year gap, or did you film it all the same day?
We filmed it all the same day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so that wasn't that. Yeah, no reshoots on that one.
No reshoots on that one. No. As far as I can remember, although apparently they did a stage thing where all our bodies are on the stage, like the funeral, like a Happy Birthday to Me and the birthday cake scene. And she's standing on stage delivering her monologue. I have no memory of doing that.
Yeah, I don't think Lynn remembered it. Yeah, I know. I think that I can't remember what she said.
What did she say before my drug days?
Before I was not that I was a big drug addict, but it was before I started, imbibing on wonderful.
We've all done it, Lesleh. Actually, not Tim. Tim would have been the girl next door. Let me be honest.
He's Heather.
Tim is the middle-aged woman next door.
I would have slept with the director, I guess.
Tim would have done that. See, that's the thing. Tim is very, in terms of drugs and partying, Tim's very pure. But in terms of sleeping with the director,
well, good for you. Good for you.
Is he cute? Is he cute?
Change.
But we did want a couple wrap-up questions for you, and this has been so much fun, Lesleh. We saw, because we went through your whole resume, and by the way, Lesleh has a comprehensive resume. We're just focusing on her horror highlights, of course. But we saw that you did one episode of the Friday the 13th TV series. Now, having not been able to watch it, do you remember anything about what the episode was about?
Yeah, I was the daughter of the great Montero, who had this box. So everything is all about these antiques in this store that help somebody.
Yeah, I've saw so many. Of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So who they help the person that has the antique be successful, but you have to, sacrifice somebody for that to happen. And so he had this box that had all these spikes in it. And so in order for him to be able to go into the box and live through not getting killed with the spikes, there's another box backstage where you have to sacrifice someone. In order for him to be able to pull off this
sounds
trick.
Like an everyday problem.
Like you do.
yeah, exactly.
Well, the whole theme of the show, because growing up, I did watch I think it was on for a good 3 years. I probably saw your episode, but the show is about always sacrificing something, basically making a deal with the devil.
So you were the one who was supposed to be sacrificed. So how did it end? Since you weren't.
I was the killer.
Oh,
Lila, the innocent daughter, was actually the one grabbing the people and throwing them in the box so that Daddy could, perform his magic trick.
We're going to
find this episode.
Yes.
I love it. So was it fun being now not the so innocent girl next door type?
Yeah, because you had to play both, right? So I played, very shy and innocent in the beginning, and then it became apparent that I was and I'm pushing Roby in there, right? Mickey character into the box. So
it was so interesting. She was like Cher, she just had a name like Roby.
Roby, yes, Roby. She was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was a nice lady. She's a very nice lady. So
oh my God, I wonder what she's up to.
Get her on the show.
She was in France or something. I'm not sure. And
Je m'appelle Robert.
Yes, I think she's Robert. I think she's doing music. I think she did One Night in Bangkok.
Yeah.
Did a redo of that. So
God.
So I think, but yeah, it was fun to do that. I had a good time.
And then flash forward to 2014, you starred in the horror anthology Tales of Poe as a lunatic in a psychiatric hospital who, just so listeners know, she cusses up a storm. She then gets, I think it's your tongue ripped out, right? And it's vulgar, it's gory, and I loved it. What was it like playing this type of character? Because you say some words that would make even Tim blush.
Which is easy to do.
Because I mean, by the way, I loved you in this because I'm such a vulgar person. I'm holding it back, but like, that must have been so much fun to play that character.
Oh, totally. It's my brand. That's what I do now. Batshit crazy.
That's your brand.
Being a batshit crazy lady, call Lesleh. That's her.
Lesleh Donaldson, batshit crazy woman.
From innocent to batshit crazy. Yeah, exactly. So that was fun to do. I loved working on that with Desiree Gould and Bart and Debbie. Rashawn played the lead character. That it's a male. The story is male by Edgar Allan Poe, but then Bart turned it into all female. So the movie star is Alan Rowe Kelly, and Debbie Rashawn is her nurse, and then she ends up in the crazy asylum with me, and and I'm asking her to tell me why she's in there. And so batshit crazy. But then there's also another one, Abnormal Attraction, which was fun to do. I don't know if you've seen that one. That's sort of that was a fun sort of how it came to pass. It was not 2013. I was in Arkansas with a film festival, and the Fuzz on the Lens guys were there, and they come out and said, "We have this idea to do a short. It's like an AA meeting, but you're not addicted to any kind of substance. You're addicted to like a fantasy character." And they go, "What would your fantasy character be?" And I said the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
So
it all comes full circle. Yeah, it all comes full circle.
It just turned into this big movie where I got to play this character. And he said, "Well, if I gave you a part, what would you like? How would you want it to open? What would I said, "I want to start by saying, 'Hey, fuck face.'"
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So I get to call Bruce Davison fuckface. So that was fun.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was going back. Do you have any stories about working with the late Desiree Gould?
Who played Aunt Martha in
Sleepaway Camp?
Yeah.
It was fun. She was fun. She was very meticulous in rehearsing. She had to know where her pen was going to be and where this was going to be. And, she was had to have everything sort of, laid out. But she was great, lovely lady. Really,
was she kind
wonderful.
of a kooky lady like her character in Sleepaway Camp, or no? Okay,
yeah, a little bit. I mean, she had a little bit of a quirky edge to her. Yeah, but she would but still a lovely personality. Really wonderful. Yeah,
I can imagine. So looking back on your early career in horror, why do you think films like Happy Birthday to Me or Curtains have resonated so much with horror fans like ourselves and are so popular over 40 years later?
Good question. I don't know. I think it was the energy of the time back then. I think it was still it was story driven. It's not so much now. It's just like, how graphic can we be with kills? Back then it was more story driven and relationship driven. So like one of the things I think about, if they ever were to remake Happy Birthday to Me, they have to make sure they get the dynamic of the people that are the top 10 right. Because I think that's what made that movie work, was that we all knew each other from the business. And so we already had a bond and we already had a familiarity with each other. And that's why all those relationships kind of worked. And I think you can get that with certain people. Like if you look at shows, I guess, like 90210 or, stuff like that, you see those relationships happening. But I think because it was an innocent time back then, and it was just fresh. It was just starting out. Like it was just, thanks to Tobe Hooper and, Texas Chainsaw and the Wes Craven and all those guys, and John Carpenter, it was a new form of movie making. And so everybody was jumping on the bandwagon. And I think it was just an exciting time to be doing those kind of movies. Now it's all about upping the last movie. And it's more psychological now. Like I really feel like where horror movies are going is really interesting. When movies like Midsummer and Hereditary and stuff like that. It's not necessarily about how many kills you get. It's more like how you mess with people's heads in the movie, you know? So, I think that's good.
But I will say for people like Tim and I love those kind of simple slasher films. Yeah. And I will say that because they're not as prevalent today, we can go back to the 80s and get them. And it's not even so much that we like, oh my God, how many people did they kill? But it's just something about like Halloween or Friday the 13th or Happy Birthday when there's just one, like a killer coming after innocent people and just keep it at that. It can be so terrifying.
Yeah,
you know?
oh, for sure. Formula, the simple.
Yeah.
You can get that out. Simple formula of me talking. It works every time.
It does, and you're right. Sometimes, like Midsummer and Hereditary, they're very interesting and psychological. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to have to think this hard at a horror.
Right.
I can watch Happy Birthday to Me on replay, but it's hard for me. I can't watch Midsummer a lot.
No. I mean, I saw it maybe 3 times.
Oh wow!
Midsummer, just because I had to sort of, watch that scene where the 2 old people jump from the rock, and I'm just going to wrap my head around why would you do that? I mean, why is it 75? You know what I mean? Like it was just so daunting and so jarring to see that scene happen. And to see it through the eyes of Florence Pugh, where she's like, and so stuff like that is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. But movies that I liked back then were like, the Sentinel with Christina Rains.
Oh yeah.
Because it was the house with the guy in the window. Mm-hmm. And then she's in this house by herself, but there's people, she sees people there, but there's nobody there. And then there's the scene where she goes upstairs and there's this full white dude in underwear coming out after her. And I'll never forget that. And then also the one with the Changeling with George C. Scott.
We just watched that.
Mm-hmm.
That seance scene, and then he plays it back. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That movie really knew how to build suspense. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of people think that slasher movies aren't suspenseful because just kill, but a lot of slasher movies are very suspenseful. Yeah.
They build.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, what are you up to today? And would you ever consider doing another horror film?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. Depending on, it has to be well written, I guess. But I started writing myself, and I've written a script with my writing partner, Maria Nieto, and sort of cannibalistic version of Ma Barker. So it's the Ma Barker, the Carpus Barker gang back in the 30s, the bank robbers, and led by Ma. So we've taken the Shelley Winters Bloody Mama version and kind of built on that, and we've turned them into cannibals.
Oh, wow.
So we've hybrid it. So I'm trying to get eyes on that.
Oh, that's so good. So have you done a lot of writing, or is this your first script that you've written?
This is my first feature, but I have also written a 8 episode television half-hour sort of dramedy with another writing partner that is based on my life raising children in the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
In the
very different than the cannibalistic Ma Barker.
Yes, exactly. Still a mom, but so it's 2 parents that are raising their children. They're stay-at-home parents and they're raising their children, but doing it badly and are not behaved well. And so they're in the playgrounds, rubber jungle, but they have a fantasy life. So her fantasy life is violence. So when she goes into a seizure or has a hallucination, she ends up reenacting a Quentin Tarantino movie, Kill or something. And he has a sexual fantasy life. So he sees his seizures or whatever, his fantasies in the playground in front of everyone.
Oh, but question, is he down in Mexico watching Funeral Home?
No, but he could be played by a Mexican who was down there then.
Oh, well, we have one final question for you, Lesleh,
Sure.
and you've been amazing. And we ask this to everyone we interview, and it's going to kind of put you on the spot a little, but
okay.
What is one thing you can tell us about your experience working on any of the horror films we've discussed today that you've never told any other interviewer, publication, podcaster, convention Q&A, Armando? Just one thing about any of the 4 horror movies we covered or any of the horror movies we covered that you worked on that you've never told any other interviewer before. And it doesn't have to be juicy, or it can be juicy. It can be a small detail, a small thing.
It could be like, I stole the hag mask.
Yeah. But just anything.
I wanted my head. Why did Greg Dunning have it? No, there's one, but the key player is kind of still alive, and I don't know if I should say.
I get it. I totally understand.
Anything about someone who's not? Oh.
No.
Or if you want to allude to something without naming the person.
Just that I had a foreshadowing of something going wrong with a movie when I was told by somebody important in the movie that the movie was a piece of shit.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
So the person involved with this movie said this movie's a piece of shit to the actor in the movie.
So how do you respond to that? You kind of go, well, if they think it's a piece of shit, that is a piece of shit.
Wow.
It's kind of hard to kind of jump back into the fray of wanting to, do good. So that was kind of daunting.
Wow. Yeah. Like why would, I was thinking it's like, you want me to still perform my best and you just said this is a piece of shit.
Yes.
I don't think any movie you've made is a piece of shit.
Yeah. None of them
thank you.
are.
No, I mean, when I see the final project, I see the disjointedness, but I also see, it is what it is. It's, I can see why people like it. And I just give it away.
Like watching any of these movies that maybe when you're seeing the final product, you don't know about. Yeah. Obviously, we read about these and hear about these things, but you would never know. Even I think like with Curtains, like the scenes that were reshot or you never know that because it's edited together.
I saw Curtains as a kid, and then obviously as an adult, I did research. But it's fascinating to me how much this movie went through to get finished.
Yeah, for sure. Like there are crew members walking around in Toronto today with hats that say, yes, I was on Curtains reshoot.
Oh my God. It is so funny that they do divide the credits.
And hats that say, yes, I did the Curtains reshoot.
Did you get one?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get one. I should want to get one.
Oh, I have a question. Where's that doll?
The doll from Curtains, the creepy little doll that the killer has?
I don't know. I bet Greg Dunning has that too.
We're gonna
he wasn't involved in the movie.
He has your Headcast. He has the doll.
He probably has the doll.
He has every prop that is missing from a horror movie.
I wonder if it ended up in Lorraine and Ed's Warren's.
With Annabelle,
Raggedy Ann.
Next to Annabelle and all of the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, exactly. Funny. Who knows? I mean, somebody's got it. Somebody must have it.
How many dolls were on set the day you were running with the doll?
Just one. I mean, they just the one, and then I guess maybe they had two. I'm not sure, but I think I just had one.
Oh wow! Because there was the one that was in the rain.
Yeah.
There are some that was a creepy doll. That was a good addition to it. And you know what? I don't know why more people don't dress up on Halloween as the Hag killer. In fact, I think a great costume would be the Hag mask and ice skates. That would be amazing.
The Hag mask and a sweater with the thigh highs and the ice skates.
Yeah, and the whatever the scythe, however you pronounce it. Yeah, I know.
Scythe, yeah. I think that would be. I don't know why. I mean, if they can put a Scooby-Doo meme up with, the hag and a Scooby-Doo thing and the Scooby-Doo people, I don't know why they can't put the costume out.
I actually know that artist.
Great costume. Do you know that artist?
Yeah, his name's Travis, right? IB Trav?
It could be, Travis. Yeah,
wow.
might be Travis. Yeah. I remember seeing it, and then I remember seeing somebody did Madonna hag mask with her album where she has the wiring around her face.
Oh,
it was one of her latest albums where she, and they had it as a mask, but looking like Madonna.
Hey, that could be something you have never told in an interview.
There you go. You got two out of me.
Got two, though. That's great. Well, look, Lesleh, you've been amazing. We really had a great time talking with you.
You too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we had a blast talking with you, and we hope to stay in touch. And so I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you. Great talking to you guys. Sorry about last week.
Oh, no worries.
No worries. Okay. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. As a patron, you get access to all our bonus content, which now includes 2 new bonus episodes every month, a monthly after-show mini episode, access to our Discord community so you can chat with us directly, and the chance to review a film with us in one of our bonus episodes.
Patrons also get all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the chance to vote in polls, and autographed Happy Horror Time stickers.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.